Okay, we're going to get started up here if anyone else would like to join us.
We're going to talk about food.
Yes, food. This is one of our few installations that actually deals with food. So I'll do a brief introduction for Simo and then turn it over to her. So we have a very global group this evening. Simo was born in Italy and has lived and worked in San Francisco, Paris, and New York. She has been influenced by all of these different cultures and has been combining photographic and painting techniques for many decades. So the idea behind this incredible, very immersive exhibit is sequential rhythmic photography, which has allowed her to combine painterly elements with a sculptural format, particularly in this particular exhibition, all while working on different scales. She enjoys creating site-specific installations. There's humor and a meditative quality as well. So I'm just going to turn it over to you with that and let you tell us more. Yes.
Thank you. So, this installation has a title. You can read it up there. It's called Eat Me, Drink Me. And if anybody has read Lewis Carroll, they know where the reference is coming from Alice in Wonderland. And what happened to Alice when she ate the delicious looking cake, or drank the deliciously sweet whatever drink, she shrunk or she grew in ways that she could no longer control. In other words, her experience, this is meant to say that we are subliminally seduced and affected by the sensorial experience of food and drink. And this installation is about also adapting to the reality of today's consumption. So as we are seduced by the beauty of the shininess of the fruit from these are all shot, by the way, in a Parisian market, the fruits, anyway, as we are seduced by that, we also, how can I say, we don't really control the complete journey of that food to where it goes at the end of the game, which is basically, this piece is called Trash. And this is about, it's a beautiful, beautiful, aesthetically beautiful work of trash in all its hyper-real glory from a weekend when I went fishing with my camera in Brooklyn, where I was living at the time, just in a variety of trash cans, public trash cans. And I just couldn't believe how this flow was so attractive. And people were wondering, what is she doing? And kept asking me. But anyway, long story short, this came out, and I love this piece because it has this kind of painterly quality almost. But it's trash, and it's horrible. So there's this combination of beauty and horror, which is then visible also where Courtney is here. I don't know if you can actually see it, but this piece was done the year that the mad cow disease, do you guys remember? Maybe some of you are too young, but mad cow disease was a terrifying thing. And I was living in France at the time, and I started looking at the actual meat and the marbling and how beautiful it was in its sort of horrible way. I'm not even a meat eater, but there was something both attractive, that seductive quality, and just horrifying at the same time. Same with fish. Avocado I find so beautiful, and it's all about contrasts in the end, right? It's a bit like the beautiful struggle that Peroni. Anyway, so the avocado, the softness, juiciness, richness of the avocado fruit with the spikiness of the cactus. These contrasts for me were super important. But what's really, I should have started actually with the land. The land, this is actually a homage, this piece is called Terra, a homage to my father's land, both in its state of incredible barrenness, stricken by drought, and in the before you sow it, before you start putting the seeds in. And there was something about that. So in a way, this is the beginning, this is the end. It's part of the installation, the message anyway. This is more playful, seductive elements that are there to attract and then to think. And what I also wanted to emphasize, which struck me, and this has to do with the technique that I use to photograph, is that when you photograph in a sequential manner and then just exhibit it in such a way that you see the strips, these are all just the raw strip, just come out, you know, this is the original strip that came out of the machine, that I simply had pushed the no cut button, so they weren't cut, and so it came into one thing. I forgot my train of thoughts. No. Oh yes, the beauty of the visual element comes also from the fact that by repeating, not in a mechanical way, but by repeating in a sequentially photographed way, you get a patterning effect. You start seeing these patterns, and it's almost like a fractal discovery. You know, when you photograph something close by, I mean right close in, especially in cases like the meat and the fish, it's when you see the result and then you juxtapose the different strips, you see something more than the original, is what I'm saying. There's something definitely more, the sum of the parts is more than the parts. So that has to do with the technique, the photographic technique. And then one last thing I'll say, because I found it really interesting, this patterning effect helped me realize something, and maybe this I'm completely off, but I'm also really interested in science, I always have been. Don't you think in some of these cases, check out this Swiss chart, for example, doesn't this look like the graphics of our neural system? I mean, there's a lot of visual representation in our food systems when you see them photographed in this way that are actually reminiscent of our internal physiological systems, the way at least we represent them to ourselves. Blood system, nervous system, you name it. You know, pretty much everything, cells, you know. So I find that really, really intriguing because it means that there's a direct relationship between what we see, what our senses are giving us, and what, you know, with what we actually are. And that is this. Mm-hmm. So ask me any questions. I'm here to answer them.
Mm-hmm. When you say sequential, are you doing it manually or is it the automatic?
No.
Digital camera?
Totally manual.
Okay.
There's nothing automatic. When these were done, now I do everything with my iPhone. And sequentially simply means that I move around an object, in this case, say cherries, and I literally move around. This was a group of cherries, so sometimes I get them bigger, sometimes I get them smaller. In the meat marbling, I literally just moved around a chunk of meat that was later cooked. Same with the fish, same with the avocado, same with the chard, which I photographed against a wall. I mean, actually against a window because it's backlit that way. So again, you know, like for me, this is very typical. It just looks so much like what's inside us. And so sequentially means fractally advancing around an object or, you know, a subject without ever repeating it exactly. That's the whole point. It's a dynamic system. It's a dynamic thing. That's what creates the patterning when you see it over time, over space, and multiples, I mean, on juxtapositions.
So the length of the piece is determined by the film, but then how do you decide how to, like when you're photographing?
How to put it together?
Yeah, did you already, when you did the fish, did you already decide I'm gonna do inside of the fish 3 films and then sides outside of the fish?
You know, it's all trial and error, to be honest, at least. I mean, these are fairly old works. You may see some of the dates. In fact, what you're standing next to, you're one of the very first experiments. I think this was like 1999 or something. It's one of the oldest ones where I was trying out different things involving in fact, I see that one of the things is put wrong. I have to, that second strip is reversed with the first one. I'll have to fix that later, Courtney. But because the whole point was the black is the outside. But I was experimenting, so I never know. In this case, these are 24 exposure rolls. You know, you can see that. But I also these are 36 exposure rolls, much longer. These are little bits and pieces that I cut myself. You know, it happened to be, these are all like things that I have collected over time and then have left in my archives, and then thought, oh, it's time to pull out the food. But yeah. So I'm limited. I was limited. Now I'm not limited anymore, because with an iPhone you can do exactly what you want, as long as I mean, seriously, there is no limit. I have done entire floors, huge. I once did a 4-story stairwell at the Alliance Française in Paris, and I had huge strips, just because with digital photography you can just go on. You can also print whatever photography the source is. You can also have ways of printing them on vinyl, on different materials that are much more easy to manage in big surfaces.
Thank you, Simo.
You're so welcome.